Now take that, and here's a fact, that 95% of our life is spent thinking. I go, what does that mean? Well, then 95% of your life is not coming from the wishes and desires of the creative mind. That's busy thinking. 95% of your life is coming from the program. I go, so why is that important? I say, well, if you have good programs, that's not a problem. But most of us have about 60% of the programs are disempowering, self-sabotaging beliefs, limiting beliefs of what we think we can do and what we can't do. These are programs.
Welcome to the Tapping Within podcast. I've been waiting to release this episode for months, and the time has finally come. On the podcast, we brought on Dr. Bruce H. Lipton, one of the people that I've admired the most in my journey, and let's get into it. So, Dr. Bruce Lipton, for those that don't know, is an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. He's a stem cell biologist and author of the bestseller, The Biology of Belief. He's regarded as one of the leading voices in the new biology when he proposed the idea to the scientific community that we're not necessarily controlled by our genes, but by our environment, a new field of study called epigenetics. And I could go on for hours listing Dr. Bruce's magnificent contributions to humanity and all the accolades he's accumulated in his life. But without me rambling too much, let's take a deep dive into everything from why your relationships are not working, how your subconscious rules your life, creating the new world, why the human species is limited only by our mind, and how to reprogram your reality to serve your wishes and desires. Guys, this is a very, very powerful episode. I hope you enjoy it. If you resonate with Bruce's message, leave a like on this video and share it with a friend. Let's spread this message as much as we can. All the love, everyone. Bruce, welcome to the podcast. How are you, brother?
I am a very happy person to be here with you, Emilio, because I know that your audience is a really important audience for world change. And so I think we have some wonderful things to talk about self-empowerment.
Yes.
In a world that looks like kind of crazy, doesn't it? But something's going on.
Something's going on. And a lot of us are really blind to what's really going on, even from the outside to what's going on inside us. And just starting off from when you were going into your medical degree, you were excited, you wanted to go into this route. And you also had a bit of that rebel mindset of wanting to, start a band, do all these different things, go against the mainstream. And in your book, you mentioned that you eventually decided, I'm going to do this band thing. I want to try it out. I want to see how it works. And it didn't really start quite working out. But one of the things was a phone came in asking you to teach again. And it was like the science was bringing you back into something that you needed to discover. Let's start maybe with what are the most significant things you've discovered in your field of merging quantum physics, which is a buzzword, but also a really incredible concept to understand. And then epigenetics, which is another incredible field that's emerging, and you're one of the leading voices in that. So let's start maybe with the most significant things that you've discovered and how you came to that.
Well, the idea that epigenetics, this is a new science from the 1990s, and most of the audience out here really doesn't even have an insight as to what it means. And to me, it's like, oh my God, it's a revolution in consciousness and world change. So I said, well, how does it come about? And I go, well, first, about 1967, before you, perhaps even your parents were born, I was cloning stem cells at the University of Virginia and then University of Wisconsin as a research scientist. And at the same time, I was teaching students in the classroom about the concept called genetic determinism back in those days. And that was the the word genetic determinism's genes determine the character of our lives. And people still believe that right now. They say, oh, yeah, whatever traits I have are carried by the genes. And then I got some good traits and then I got some bad traits. And my life is out of control because the genes are controlling this. And that was the belief system. Now, we said genes turn on and off and control the traits. And I go, well, why is it relevant? I go, because the first premise is this. Did I pick the genes I came with? I go, but not necessarily. They were the combination of your mother and father's sets of genes coming together. If I don't like the traits that these genes provide, can I change them? The answer, nope, can't change them either. And then we add on top of that, they decide to turn on and off. Genes turn on, genes turn off. That's what we've heard. I go, so why is it relevant? I said, well, we didn't pick the genes. We don't control the traits. And the genes can apparently control themselves without me. So all of a sudden, I say, what was I teaching medical students? And I was teaching them that humans are victims of their heredity. Whatever was coming in, you have no control over it. You got cancer running in your family, get ready, the cancer is coming. You know, Angelina Jolie, as the beautiful actress she was, her mother died of breast cancer, her grandmother died of breast cancer. She finds out she has a so-called breast cancer gene, and what does she do? Preempt the cancer by what? Having a double mastectomy as a young woman. Yeah. Like the idea was, if I take these breasts off, then I won't get cancer. That wasn't actually true. But the fact was what? Again, a vision of my genes control my life, and therefore I'm a victim, and I got to do the best I can to override the victim. Okay. So I'm teaching that to medical students, which of course I work with all the people. And at the same time, I was cloning stem cells. And just very briefly, a stem cell is an embryonic cell. And the relevance is simply this. A human body is not a single entity. A human body is made out of 50 trillion cells, a number so vast that it's hard to imagine. It's easy to say, 50 trillion, okay? Yeah. No, the number is so big, it would take, I think it was 30,000 years of counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, day and night, not stopping for sleep or food, 30,000 years to count to 1 trillion.
What?
And I go, so why is that relevant? I said, well, we got 50 times that number of cells in the body. So I really would say this because the magnitude of that number is so easy to say, but not to comprehend. It's so big, okay? And I say, so why is it relevant? I said, because we're actually a community of 50 trillion cells, but the cells have lifetimes and they start dying out and cells have to be replaced. Skin cells come off, hair cells come off, the lining of the digestive tract is replaced every 3 days. Hundreds of billions of cells. I said, well, they're dying. What's replacing them? I say, well, they're called embryonic cells earlier in life, but once you're born, we now change the name, call it a stem cell. They could replace anything. So I go, why is it relevant? Well, if you're out there watching this program, guess what? You have stem cells. Why? Because if you didn't have stem cells, you'd be dead by now. So, the question of stem cells, of course you do, you're alive. So I said, but these are embryonic cells, they could form anything. So what do? I cloned them. I put one stem cell in the dish by itself. It divides every 10 hours. So first there's 1, then there's 2, then there's 4, then there's 8, 16, blah, blah, blah. After a week, 30,000 cells in my Petri dish. I go, what's unique? They all came from one parent. So I have 30,000 genetically identical cells. I go, so what? I said, I split them into 3 Petri dishes. And I changed the chemistry of what we call the culture medium. That's the environment that cells live in. I changed the chemistry a little bit. So I have 3 dishes, genetically identical cells in all of the dishes, but I now have 3 different environments. And in one dish, the cells form muscle, in another, they form bone, and in the third dish, they form fat cells. And then all of a sudden, you ask them the most profound question, well, what caused them to become muscle, bone, or fat? And the answer was, not the genes. Why? They all had the same genes. Yeah. The stimulus to go to muscle, to bone, or to fat didn't come from the genes. It came from the environment that they grew in. I go, oh, all of a sudden it's like, genes didn't control this. The environment was activating and expressing the genes. And everybody, oh, well, that's, that was research, which was counter to everybody's belief system because everyone's like, oh, genes turn on and off and genes control life. And I'm going, no, the environment is controlling them. They don't turn on and off. And just to give an insight to our audience, a gene is a blueprint to make a body part called a protein. We have 100,000 different proteins, like a giant Lego set, 100,000 different Lego pieces. And if you assemble some of them, you get a muscle cell. If you take some of those and mix them with some others, you get a skin cell. And so the genes are the blueprints to make the different types of proteins, which then collectively make this human body. And I go, so why is it relevant? Because a gene is a blueprint. I go, so why is that relevant? I said, go into an architect's office. She's working on a blueprint, and you lean over her shoulder and you go, hey, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you like, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. Precisely. We have given genes a character that doesn't exist, that they can turn on and off. No. Genes are blueprints. They have no on and off. They're just information. I go, so, well, then how are they controlled? And I go, the mind is controlling them. I go, what? How's that? So we go back to the culture medium. I said I have 3 dishes, genetically identical cells, different culture medium. I said, wait, what is culture medium?
The blood.
It's the laboratory version of blood.
Yeah.
So I say, oh, well, if I make blood with different combinations of chemistry, I change the fate of the cells. So I go, yeah. And that's what I did in the lab. I created the culture medium, the equivalent of blood. And I say, with different combinations of culture medium, different fate. And then I say, wow, then the extension. And I go, what? Those are cells in a plastic dish. I go, yeah, but guess what? I said, you're made out of 50 trillion cells. You're a skin-covered petri dish. I go, yeah, yes, you are. Skin, underneath the skin, 50 trillion cells. I go, what's the growth medium? The original growth medium, blood. And I go, oh, that's the culture medium. I go, yeah. And I say, it doesn't make a difference if the cell is in a plastic dish or in a skin-covered dish. The fate of the cell is not controlled by the genes. The fate of the cell is controlled by the environment, the culture medium, or in your body, the blood. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. In the lab, I'm the one that adjusts the chemistry and makes the culture medium. What about here in this skin-covered dish? I go, the brain is the chemist. The brain controls what chemistry goes into the blood. And I go, so why is that relevant? I go, it doesn't make a difference if the cell's in a plastic dish or a skin-covered dish. Its fate is controlled by the environment. And the cells inside your body live in the environment called blood. And then I go, and now comes the most important part, because in the lab, I created the combinations. I said, what about in your body? Who's the chemist? What controls the chemistry? And this comes the amazing part. The mind. I go, why is it relevant? Because how does it work? You ready? You have a picture in your mind. Happy picture, scary picture, a loving picture, or fear. I don't care what the picture is. The mind sees a picture, like on a television screen. It's got a picture. The function of the mind is to translate that picture into complementary chemistry that is equivalent of that. It's like paint by numbers in reverse. When you have paint by numbers, you have all the different colors and numbered, and then you got the picture, and you take this color and put it in here, and this color you put it in here. I go, take it reverse. Start with a picture, and then separate the colors. Okay. Yeah. Well, mind sees the picture. The brain translates the picture into the chemistry that represents that.
Yeah. So how do you separate the mind from the brain? Because I definitely had times where I know, like, I don't know what exactly is the difference between the brain and the mind. Yes. How do you see that?
That's a real important one. The important part is this. The brain is a device like a receiver, like a television receiver, a radio receiver, receives a signal.
Yeah.
And then manifests that signal in the consciousness that we see, okay? And I go, where do the signals come from? I go, well, they're coming from outside the environment, and the cells have antennas on them that pick up these signals, and then whatever the signals are, those signals are then used to adjust the biology. You go outside in the summertime and it's warm, the skin picks up the environmental signal, it's warm. The nervous system tells the body it's warm. With what? Chemistry, that, there's certain chemicals go up when it's warm, so the body raises its temperature. But go outside in the wintertime, it's cold out, pick up the signal, raise the temperature to keep you at 98.6. In the summertime, it's too hot out, picks up the signal, and then causes the body to cool down, perspire, and bring it down. I said, well, the control of my temperature is not controlled by my genes. It's controlled by what's going on. And I said, every aspect of our biology is controlled by this. And I say the brain is a receiver of information: sight, smell, taste, sound. Inside, it feels things called emotions: love, anger. These are translations. The body's translating these things, okay? So I go, so why is it relevant? I say, the brain is the receiver device and the translator of the picture. I say, yeah, but where's the picture coming from? I go, outside. Antennas are on the surface of the cell called receptors, receivers. I have eyes, light receptors, okay? Ears, sound receptors, taste receptors, okay? So I say, so what's the function of the brain? It's a mechanism that picks up a signal and plays it. I go, where's the signal coming from? I say, not from the inside. It's coming from the outside. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, well, there's a wonderful story. Aben Alexander is a neurosurgeon, okay? And he's got this, I mean, he was a high practicing neurosurgeon, and he got a brain infection. And this infection actually devoured up his cerebral cortex. It was like bacterial infections destroying his brain. There was a point where he didn't even know who or what he was. There was a consciousness, I am, but it wasn't, I am a body, I am a surgeon, I'm a human. It's just, I exist. He lost the breakdown. The breakdown got lost. And you say, well, if the brain, as people say, is where all the memories are, his career's gone now. All of his surgery memories are gone. And it was. He didn't even know he was a human for a period. But when the infection stopped, the brain started to rebuild itself, put more neurons in like chips, put them all back in and set them back up. And I said, what happened? The moment the system was complete, guess what? He was able now to download not just who he was, but he was a neurosurgeon again. So then where the hell was everything? Skill? Where was the skill of being a neurosurgeon? It wasn't in the brain. It was translated by the brain from the energy of the field. Yeah. And I go, so now I say, so what is the mind separate from the brain? I go, the brain is like the television set and the mind is the program. The program's not in the television set. It's being received by the television set. So I say, then a brain is a device to translate information, which it is. And information includes who and what we are and what we've learned and our life. So there's a separation. I can have a brain problem, and then guess what? It's sort of like, oh, the chip burned out. Now the damn thing isn't working. Is it, did I lose my memory? No. Your memory wasn't even in here. It was playing. So it becomes important to recognize, like, you're watching a TV show and the TV breaks, the TV is dead. Yeah. It's not playing anymore. It's not working. I go, I know the TV just died. Is the broadcast still there? I go, how do you know? I said, well, you get another TV, plug it in, turn it on, tune it to the station, and the show is back on. Yeah. We are television sets. I'm playing the Bruce show. You're playing the Emilio show. I say, oh, the show is built into your brain. I say, no, that's the receiver. And this is the screen. This is my show. I'm playing it. Okay. And I go, so why is that relevant? I say, well, if my TV body breaks and dies, did the broadcast die? I go, no, still there. And I say, well, what's significant? I say, a baby shows up with the same set of antennas, proteins on the surface cell, receptors, receivers, called self-receptors. And I say, then what? A new baby, but with the same set of receptors that you have on your cells, is you again. Different TV set. Does it make a difference of male or female? No, that's a TV set. What about if it's black, brown, white, yellow, red? No, that's the TV set. You are not the TV set. You are the program playing through the TV set. Yeah. That's energy. And I go, well, that sounds so new agey. And I go, well, you know what's interesting? It's almost now 100 years that quantum physics has come in. And I have to emphasize the importance of this. And I say, why is quantum, what is physics? Physics means mechanism. Quantum physics, quantum mechanics. Newtonian physics, Newtonian mechanics. Physics is mechanisms of the universe. And I go, so why is it relevant? Because we've all been programmed to live in a world of a belief of a separation, that there's a physical and an energy part to the universe, and they're separate from each other. And quantum physics said, no, that's an illusion. Matter and energy are actually one and the same thing. That this physical expression is an illusion. And because when you get down to the atom, that's supposed to be the building block of all of this, and it's physical, it's got that little solar system and nucleus and electrons spinning around. I go, when they started to say, well, what are the protons made out of? What are the neutrons made out of? What are the electrons made out of? And when they got to the bottom, guess what? There was nothing physical.
Energy.
These are energy things, quarks and things like that. They're energies. I go, an atom isn't made out of matter. I go, no, it's made out of energy. And I go, so why is it relevant? Well, but I can see you, and energy by definition is invisible. And I go, oh, I am. How can you see me? I go, fun reason. You ready? Fun. The lights are on. You go, what do you mean? I said, shut off the lights. I'm still here, but you can't see me. Yeah. And I go, so what does that mean? I say, the reason you can see me as an energy being, which I am, but I look physical to you, is that the photons of coming from the light source are hitting me. And when they hit the energy field, photons bounce back.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing me, you're seeing a veneer of photons that hit my energy and are reflected back. Yeah. It's like, it's a layer of photons. The me underneath the photons, invisible energy, can't see me. Okay?
So what I see as Bruce, what you see as Emilio, it's that energy coming closer together, or why does it look like it's an actual physical being?
Because the density of the energy is strong enough to make an energy field to repel photons.
Okay.
If the energy around me, okay, hey, wait, there's energy all around me. There's radio broadcasts, cell phone broadcasts, TV, it's all over. I can't see them. I say, why not? They're not dense enough to reflect light. So they're here, but they're invisible. But energies of what we call physical things are energies that are dense, come together with more power. And as a result, when a charged photon of light hits it, it can repel it back. And so some energies repel light. You can see those. Other energies, they don't repel light. They're invisible. You can't see those. And that's what makes a difference between the world we can see and the world that we can see. Do the photons, are they reflected back by this source? Nope. Television waves, not enough density. Can't even see them, okay? But skin cells, yeah, a lot of density to those guys, because when the photon hits them, now you see them.
Mm-hmm. So us being energy beings, us not being controlled by our genetics, what does that mean to us? Like, how can we put these concepts together and say, okay, because you've said a lot, like we are actually living, Earth is a heaven, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So creative. If we are creative, if we are actually here creating our reality, how did you come to that conclusion? Through the power of belief, through the power of how we
the first thing is this.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is this. We're all looking at let's say you and I were standing side by side at this exact moment in this exact place.
Yeah.
What you see and interpret is going to be through filters the way you look at the world. What I see is also through filters, but it may not be the same filters. So two people can be in the exact same spot, look at the exact same world, but have totally different interpretations. Okay? And so some people look at the environment and go, oh my God, I'm going to die in this one. And others look at the environment and go, oh my God, this is the most beautiful place ever. And I go, it's the individual. And I go, okay, how or why? And I go back and I said, look, your cells are inside the body. Their life is dependent on being in harmony with the world. If we're not in harmony, then life is compromised, okay? So I said, well, how do you know what's going on in the world? I said, well, the only way that my cells, my liver cell knows what's going on in the world is not because it can see, but it takes my interpretation of my brain, which is a computer, to take those signals from the world, make sense out of it, and then tell the cells what's going on. So if my programs are different than your programs, and we're both in the same place, in the same exact environment, you're going to send different information to your cells, and I'm going to send to my cells, yet we're in the same environment. And that's interpretation. I say, where does it come in? And this becomes really important because in the age of computers, which I started before that, when I was doing these things, we didn't really have home computers.
Yeah.
And then we come into computers, and I want to say something profoundly important about the technology, and that is a cell is a programmable chip. A cell can be muscle, bone, skin, brain, whatever. I say it's got all the same programmed genes. Which one is it? It's the one you program out of that. I say, where's the programming come from? The environment. Inside the body, that comes from the blood. But that signal in the blood is an interpretation of that signal out there. So now I go back, I say, so the brain is a computer. It's beyond anything we can make. That's a fact, okay? Now, what's interesting about this computer is it's a computer. Brain is just like a computer. I go, so why is it relevant? I say, go to the store, we buy a brand new computer, we bring it home, put it on the desktop, start it up, boot it up, it boots up. And I go, okay, now do something. Write an essay, draw a picture or whatever. You make a spreadsheet. I don't care. I say, do something. You say, well, I got a brand new computer, but I can't do anything. I say, what do you mean? Before you can use the computer, you have to put a program in it. You cannot use a computer without a program. Yeah. And I say, so the brain has to have an operating program before you can use it to add your information. So now we understand something very important about the human brain, that the first 7 years of a child's life, the brain is not at a higher vibration, and that's an energy field. And I say, yeah, but where's it coming? I say, you put wires on this person's head, and it's called electroencephalograph, EEG, reading your brain activity. I go, oh, well, there's different levels of vibration. And that consciousness is a vibration called alpha, but there's a subconscious, and it's lower than consciousness, and it's called theta. And I go, so why is it relevant? I said, when you're ready to evolve and the brain is booting up, before you can use consciousness, the brain is in a period called theta, which is hypnosis. I go, why is that? And the answer comes simple point. We're living in a very complex world. We're living in a complex family. There are rules. You can't do what the hell you want. I said, well, then when does a child learn the rules? Did you give it a book? I said, if you put those rules in a book, it'll be so thick that nobody's going to read it. I said, how do you know the rules of how to be a member of a family and how to be a member of a community? And the answer is, in the first 6 years of your life, your computer program in your brain is operating at theta, which is hypnosis. And I say, well, then what does that mean? I say, well, you watch your mother, you watch your father, you watch your siblings, you watch your community. And I go, in theta, that's hypnosis. You record how to be a father by watching your father, how to be a mother by watching your mother, how to be a member of a community by watching how they all interact. So I say, so where do the programs come from that are operating in your brain? I go, after you're born, actually before you're born, it even starts downloading programs before you're born. If a mother plays music to her abdomen, repeats the same music over and over again, when the baby is born, it will know that music because it can hear the vibrations. And so I said, well, it learned. Oh, yeah, it learned what? Music. That's a program. Okay. So I say, and then when it's born, 7 years, the primary activity of the brain is theta hypnosis. So by the end of age 7, you have seen how the world works by watching the people who make it work. And you downloaded their behavior. And those are your fundamental programs. And then after age 7, the higher vibration kicks in called alpha. That's consciousness. That's creative. I go, so how does it work? I said, what do you think the keyboard is on the computer? That's where you put in your information into the program.
Is that when we become more self-aware? So when we're after 7, we're self-aware of our identity, of our behavior.
That we are a unique identity, different than all other people, organisms on this planet. At first, we don't see the difference. We're just part of everything.
Yeah.
But there's a point where I am not you, I have my own life, and all of a sudden, oh, now we're off on personal identity at that point, okay? And I say, so now here's the point. Your brain is a computer. It boots up in the last trimester of pregnancy, but between there until age 7, it's in theta, which is download by hypnosis of programs. I said, where do the programs come from? Watching other people. I go, why is that relevant? Maybe they don't have your wishes and your desires, but they got their program. Now you have their program. And the program is passed from generation to generation during the first 7 years. So people, for example, have attributed things to genes. Cancer, it runs in the family. I go,
that's a program.
Fact of science. There is no such thing as a cancer gene. There's no gene that causes cancer. It's correlated with cancer. In other words, 50% of the women that carry the breast cancer gene never get the breast cancer. I go, so why is it relevant? I said, well, if it's a breast cancer gene, why didn't everybody get the breast cancer? The answer is the gene didn't cause the cancer. But in half of the people, their life was not in harmony. And as a result, they engaged that gene. And the other half of the women, their lives are happy. They don't engage that gene. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, the gene didn't make that decision. It was your response to the world that made that decision. And I go, so cancer is not genetic. Cancer is driven by program patterns that are not in harmony. I said, where'd you get the program? From your parents and your family and your community. And if that program's not in harmony and you're using that program, then you're not in harmony. And then cancer, actually, only 1% of disease, or actually less than 1% of disease is connected to genes. The rest of it is connected to stress in the environment. And this is where disease comes from. Stressed people get disease, die younger, have all kinds of problems. Happy people don't deal with that issue so much, So I go, so why is it relevant? Because when the conscious mind is in there, it becomes the creator. And I go, wow, then I can, and conscious mind has wishes and desires. Subconscious mind just got programmed. Push the button, program. They're not bad. Most of them are good. Like, when did you learn how to walk, Emilio? Before you were 2. And guess what? If you live to be 150, you're going to still use the same program that you learned before 2, which is really cool because you don't have to relearn how to walk. You've already got it. So
it's a habituated process. Like, that's how we learn.
Subconscious is habits. Okay. And then I go, but conscious is creative. So it can veer off of the habit. It can do other things. Now comes the whole problem, and all you people out there, this is the problem. We are creators. Our conscious mind is creative. Our subconscious mind is strictly programmed. And I go, so why is it relevant? And here it is. The conscious mind is not only creative and manifesting wishes and desires, but the conscious mind can think. I go, what do you mean? I go, hey, Emilio, it's probably not written in front of you right at this moment. I say, tell me what you're doing on Thursday, a few days from now. And if it's not written in front of you, but I bet you in a few seconds, minute, you can tell me exactly what you're doing on Thursday. You have to think about it.
Thinking, yeah.
Okay, now I hit that. The crux of the problem of the whole world, thinking. I go, why? Because when the body's like a vehicle with a steering wheel, okay? When the conscious mind is driving, it's taking you to where? Wishes and desires. That's conscious mind.
Yeah.
But if the conscious mind is thinking, it lets go of the wheel because it's not looking out, because thinking is looking in. Your thoughts are inside. You have to stop looking out. And I said, wait, then you let consciousness let go of the wheel. Now what? Hey, if I'm driving the car and I have a thought, then consciousness is not looking at the road anymore, paying any more attention. It's thinking. I go, oh my God, you could die. I go, no. Subconscious is autopilot. Yeah. When the conscious mind is thinking, the subconscious steps in and grabs the wheel. I say, yeah, but how's it going to drive? I say, only the way you were programmed to drive. When you're conscious, you're creative. You can change anything you want. But if you are in subconscious, says this is how you drive. And you learned how to drive. So what was the point? I could think and not pay any attention to the road. I mean, sometimes you've been in a car probably driving and having a conversation with somebody and you get so involved with the conversation and then you look out the window and you go, I haven't paid attention to the road for the last 5 minutes. I go, I'm still safe. The car's going. I didn't think of anybody. And
Your
I go,
subconscious is driving.
the subconscious took over. Now, but here's the problem. And this is now the manifestation of what the problem is all about. It's this definition right here. So you've been in that conversation for that period of 10 minutes. You want to tell me what the conversation was about? You go, oh, yeah, we talked about this and this and this and this. I go, great. Oh, and while you were in the conversation, tell me what you saw on the road. And you go, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention. I have no idea. Mm. And I go, oh, your vehicle was being driven and you didn't see it. You didn't see what was going on. No, it was automatic behavior. Okay. Now take that. And here's a fact that 95% of our life is spent thinking. I go, what does that mean? Well, then 95% of your life is not coming from the wishes and desires of the creative mind. That's busy thinking. 95% of your life is coming from the program. I go, so why is that important? I say, well, if you have good programs, that's not a problem. But most of us have about 70% of the programs are disempowering, self-sabotaging beliefs, limiting beliefs of what we think we can do and what we can't do. These are programs.
Do you think that's like a parenting problem, or why do we have so many limiting negative beliefs while we're younger?
Because parents are teachers. How did they get to be teachers? They didn't have to. They're just living their life. It was the student that was in hypnosis. So they observe the parent. But the parent is like us. If I'm thinking, then the parent's behavior, is it the good parent that we love? Or is it some bad program they got from their parents that they're now playing? Because 95% of the day, they're not creating from the conscious, they're creating from the program. They've been programmed. And I say, where'd they get it from? Their parents. I say, where'd their parents get the program from? Their parents.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I say that 95% of your life is not coming from your wishes and desires, a life of health, happiness, joy, making money, having a great life. 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious, autopilot, because 95% is the amount that the average person spends thinking, which means let go of the wheel. And all of a sudden I said, then is your life a reflection of what you want? I go, nope. 95% of your life is coming from the program. Are those programs all supporting you? Nope. Many of them don't. And I go, well, then you would see if your behavior was sabotaging you. And I go, you didn't even see the road for the 10 minutes that you drove the car. That means the same time you wouldn't even see your own behavior. And this is, so I've used this, in any number of interviews, the same one, because it's still the best message. And it goes like this, is like, you have a friend and you know your friend's behavior very well, and you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the same behavior as their parent. So of course, you got to tell them, you got to say, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And then I say, back away from Bill. The moment you say that, I know what he's going to say. He's going to say, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And everyone experiences that. And I go, what does it mean? It means that Bill spends his time 95% thinking, so that 95% of behavior is coming from the program. Where did he get the program? His dad. So he's playing his dad. I go, but why doesn't he see it? And I said, just the same reason that you didn't see the road when you were in conversation. Your consciousness wasn't paying attention. And when consciousness is not paying attention, then you automatically run a program. But when you run the program, because your consciousness is not paying attention, you're the only one who doesn't see it. Everybody else can see Bill behaves like his dad. Only Bill doesn't see it. Then for all of you out there that are thinking about Bill, here's the conclusion you may not want to hear, but boy, it's a fact. That is, we are all Bill. Every day, 95% of our life is coming from the programs that we got from other people who didn't have our wishes and our desires, and their programs were screwed up. And so we are playing their screwed up programs, and we're not observing it, but we see the result. I go, well, what's that? Not being successful. I'm not finding a relationship. I'm not finding a great job. I'm not enjoying this and that. I see the result. And then you say, but in the morning when I got up, I knew today was the day I was going to find that special person. I'm going to get that job. And then I came home at night and it didn't happen. I said, what does the average person take away from that experience? And the answer is this: I'm a victim of the world. I wanted to be successful. Look what happened. I didn't get there. So it's not me. I wanted to be successful. I go, yeah, but I was not running the show.
I was the conscious, right? I was
conscious that was thinking while the show was playing the program I got from other people. Yeah. So here's the story. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. It is a documentary. Why? Everybody's programmed. And I go, yeah, but in the movie, didn't they have, they had a red pill and a blue pill. You take the blue pill, you wake up and you're back in your world. That's the way it's always been. But if you take the red pill, you get out of the program. I go, interesting fact. Most people, when they fall in love, their life is so profoundly changed that in 24 hours, they went from a blah, 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 blah world. And 24 hours after meeting this partner, their life is, oh God, life is so beautiful. The food is great. The music's great. The sex is wonderful. Everything. I love my life. And I call, that's called the honeymoon.
The honeymoon effect.
I said, well, every day your life was blah, 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 blah. And then in 24 hours, your life was heaven on earth. I go, was that an accident or a coincidence? Science says no. And science says this: falling in love like that is the equivalent of the red pill. I said, what does it mean? When you fall in love like that, you stop thinking. You stay present. Why? Well, if you've been looking for this person your whole life and they show up, this is not time to think and disconnect. It's time to stay here. So your conscious mind stays in the present moment, not thinking, being here, enjoying that food, enjoying that music, enjoying this relationship, keeping it present. I go, and what's the consequence? You stop playing the program.
Yeah. And that's another term for like mindfulness, right? That's being mindful.
That's what it was about. The moment you stop playing it, the blah, blah, blah world turned into heaven on earth. And I go, guess what? If it wasn't for the stinking programs that you got, you could have heaven on earth every day of your life for as long as you live on this planet, because that heaven on earth was a personal creation. Your conscious mind created that with what? Wishes and desires. I'm going to use wishes, and I'm not going to default to the program. I'm going to say, manifest my wishes and desires. I say, what were those? The things you woke up with. I want to be healthy. I want to have a good job. I want to have a great relationship. I go, oh, conscious mind, wishes and desires. Manifesting when? When you stop thinking. Because it was thinking that caused the subconscious to take over.
Yeah. That's an important concept I wanted to hit with you is when, like, we know now that when we're thinking, we get out of our conscious mind, we give way to our subconscious, our programs that we've had for all our life. And one of the ways, and I wanted to get into this, of how to reprogram our subconscious mind. But one of the things before that I want to ask is that thinking, is there a way that that thinking can positively influence our life? Because we've heard of positive thinking, we've heard of affirmations, we've heard of all these things. In a way, they're thinking, but...
Let me give you the scientific reality of this positive thinking, because that's where people, I tried positive thinking and it didn't work. And I go, well, there's reasons. I'll explain that. But does positive thinking work? Well, it's called the placebo effect. I go, what's that? Say a person's sick and the doctor says, this is the newest, greatest pill. One of the ads I always love, and it's purple. Like, ooh, that makes it even better. A purple pill. And that was in the ad. I was like, oh, take this purple pill. And then people get better. They take the pill. But then we find out the pill was a sugar pill. And I go, then what caused the healing? Obviously not the sugar pill. The belief in the sugar pill. The belief that that's what I needed. Got it. I got it. Now I took the pill. Now I can get healed because I took the pill. And the fact was, that was a belief. The pill was sugar. It had nothing to do with it. So placebo effect, which is responsible for a minimum of 1/3 of all medical healings, including surgery, And actually, it could be up to 2/3 of all healing. It's not from the drugs, the surgery. It's from the consciousness believing that whatever I just did is going to heal me, and have positive belief in it, do it, and then manifest positive belief.
Yeah. And then
while we're at it, I just add, Emilio, perhaps the more important side, and nobody talked about that, and that's why I got to bring it up, and that is this. Placebo, that's the result of a positive thought. I go, what about a negative thought? I go, equally powerful in controlling your life as is a positive thought. A negative thought can cause any disease just because you think of it. Cancer in 90% of the patients is not even connected to heredity at all. People in their family never had cancer. They got cancer. How'd that happen? And the idea is what? It was not living in harmony thinking. The programs of I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, the kinds of things that kids hear from parents. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, nobody pays attention to negative thinking, and yet that occupies more of our thinking time than does positive thinking. And I go, so why is it relevant? Thinking is what's powerful. Powerful thinking takes us toward health. Negative thinking can actually cause you to die with nothing more than the belief that you're going to die. And I say, why is it relevant? Because we ignore negative thinking. And I go, no, you can't ignore it. It's manifesting a reality that complements that thinking. And therefore, having a negative thought, oh, this won't happen, oh, they'll never get there, or oh, I'll try, but it's just not going to work. I said, you just created an experience. Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company, this quote, I just love it because it's so valid. He says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
You're right. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it says, now we have to put the power back on. What the hell are we thinking? I said, we're not thinking. I mean, we're not thinking what's positive. We're thinking what's our program. We've been programmed. Oh, a gene causes that. Oh, I got the gene. I could get that. I go, well, that's a thought right there.
Yeah.
That's called a nocebo, a negative thought that manifests as a disease or a problem.
Yeah. And how quick are these, like from thought to physical manifestation? How quick is that process? Or do we make it
instantaneous? Virtually instantaneous. We are creating with our consciousness. Now, I say that and I say, oh, that guy is a new age guy. And I go, no. Quantum physics, the most valid of all the sciences on this planet. There's no science that is more truthful than quantum physics. Quantum physics principle number one is consciousness is creating our life experiences. From the biological point of view, my research came in showing consciousness creates the internal biology because consciousness via epigenetics controls our genes and controls our behavior. So I came up, with a biological correlation of what quantum physics is talking about for nearly 100 years. From day one, quantum physics, Max Planck, and the word that he used, it comes from where the movie came from. The statement that Max Planck said in 1927 on the founding of quantum physics, he said, the mind is the matrix of all matter. And basically, what's the matrix? The mind is creating this matter. 1927. And not even that long ago, in Nature, the most prestigious scientific journal on planet Earth, Nature, there was an article from a quantum physicist in the States, Richard Conn Henry. And I show people the article. I said, no, don't read the article. Just look at the last sentence. The last sentence. And the sentence goes, the universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. That is the conclusion from the leading scientific journal that said this is an illusion of materiality. It's immaterial. It's all energy. And it's coming from mind and spirit. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And just to get a bit deeper on that.
It did all. And I say, why is it relevant? Because I'll give you my own personal example.
Yeah.
I understood the science from my research, man. I had my hands on. I was cloning the cells, watching the environment. It's like
you were in it. You were in
then
there.
I started to recognize the consciousness aspect and the subconscious. And I got so excited. I wanted to tell people, if you understand this new science, you can create the most fabulous life. So I get a bunch of people in the room. I try to tell them this, and they're looking at me going, you know, Lipton, for a guy who says you know this stuff, your life doesn't look that great. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't say it. But if there were words for that caption on that cartoon is, oh, do as I say, not as I do. It was like, wait a minute. If this is so damn important for creating this wonderful life, why am I not in that place? And that's when the reality was, because my conscious mind, which has all that knowledge, is only 5%. That my life, even though I got all this knowledge, that didn't change the program. So I was still operating from my program, as being a victim, even though my conscious was quite aware of that. That's not true. So I had this split thing going, how come I'm so aware of this and my life sucks? That's when I learned that if you want to change your life, first you have to go in and change the program. And just again, to help people out there, because what does that mean, the program? I said, well, you were programmed before you were born, last trimester. You were programmed from 0 to 1 a whole year. You can't tell me what the program was in there or even in utero. I said, hey, you were programmed from 1 to 2 a whole year. What was the program you got? And most people go, what? Conscious mind wasn't working. So you don't have any idea what the hell your program is. And I say, yeah, but your program controls 95% of your life. Then all of a sudden I say, oh, your life is a printout of your program because you've been playing it 95% of the time. And I go, so what does that mean? I say, well, you don't have to say, let's go back until I was 1 and say, who screwed me up? I go, that's irrelevant. You already got the program. I don't have to go back and say how you got the program. That's a waste of time. I say, so what are the programs? I say, look at your life. Why?
Yeah.
It's a printout. Whatever works for you and the things you love that comes into your life, it didn't get there by accident. It got there because you have a program to support that. But then in contrast, the things you want, desire, wish for, aspire to, and it's not coming into your life and you have to work hard, sweat over it. I'm putting a lot of effort. I'm going to make this happen. Why are you working so hard? And the answer is beautiful, because the answer is whatever program you've got, it does not support that. So 95% of the day, your conscious mind inside is thinking, this is what I want. Your subconscious mind with the hands on the wheel is taking you to wherever the program said you can't go.
Sabotages you.
Struggle. And so basically, yeah, we've all been programmed. And if you're not successful, it's not because the world is against you.
Yeah.
It's your own program that becomes limiting. And I said, what is that program? Well, we just told you what the program was. Look at your life.
Look at your
Whatever you desire and you can't get to, it's not because the universe won't give it to you. It's because your program doesn't support that conclusion. And no matter how hard you try, it's going to be very difficult to get there, because 95% of the time, your behavior is controlling their issues without you having any control over it. And if the programs didn't support you, then 95% of the times you are sabotaging yourself and you don't see it. And you walk around, I'm a victim. I go, no, you're not. If you understand this, you can rewrite those programs. And then upon rewriting those programs, then 95% of the time, if the programs are automatically running, but you have programs that represent your wishes, your desires, and what you want, then 95% of the day, those programs are playing without you even thinking about it, which it's doing right now. But in this case, when the programs that you have in there are ones that you want, 95% of the day, you will be manifesting everything you want, whether it's heaven on earth, health, relationships, I don't care what the heck it is. But 95% of the day, the function of the mind is to take that program and manifest it. It's doing that right now. But as we just said, most of the programs that we're operating from, 70% or so, are not self-empowering programs at all. So that means most of your day you're sabotaging yourself, but only seeing the consequence of being a victim when out realizing you were creator in that.
Yeah. And I'm just so curious, like what was some of the inner work or subconscious programming work, reprogramming work that you had to go through from the time you were presenting your ideas to these scientists to where you are now?
Well,
in a summary,
the first thing I had to do was pay attention to the remark of those people in the audience said, Bruce, your life isn't as great as the story you're telling. And then I had to face that reality and go, oh, wait, why? And then I had to consciously change my behavior, create a new behavior, habit. How do I do it? Act as like the way you want it to be, not the way it is. So you act. I like it. New age words, which are humorous, is fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And basically what that simply means is this. Let's say you're not happy. Every day you wake up and go, oh, same old BS. And I say, you want to be happy? And you go, yeah. I say, well, then here's what you do. All day long, anytime it comes up, a few times an hour, whatever. All you have to say to yourself is, I am happy. Right in the middle of being miserable. You just say, I am happy. I am happy. And you repeat this. I go, what is repeating? Habit. I say, what's going to ultimately happen? Once it's repeated enough and habituated, there'll be a day where you'll wake up and you won't have to say, I am happy, because the program is now installed and you'll wake up happy. And no more effort on your part, because once the program is in, effortless, because that's the program that's running now. You're not putting any effort. It's running automatically. Yes. And so by changing those programs where you are having conflict, where you want something, but you're not getting there.
Analyze really why you're not getting there.
Yeah, but because you can say, well, why am I struggling? And so my particular case, look, my parents, like lots of parents out there, were quite dysfunctional in relationship. I go, so what? I said, well, I'm a kid in a family. I downloaded how my father behaves, and that became Bruce's program of how to make a relationship. I go, if I was manifesting my father's relationship technology, then it was true. For 40 years, man, I couldn't get a relationship off the ground. Why? Because my father's programming was a disaster, and I couldn't get a relationship. I had to change this whole thing around. I had to turn it around. I had to put a new program. And it's interesting because a guy who couldn't get into a relationship, once I got old enough to understand how conscious and subconscious are connected, ended up with my partner, Margaret, who was also in the training business of, helping people with programs. And we both understood this. And when the honeymoon starts for most people, they stop playing the program, and then they're creating what? Wishes and desires. That's why the honeymoon is so beautiful. But there's a point even then in most relationships where life gets involved and you have to start thinking about the job, responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. And I go, the moment you start thinking, then the behavior you're going to play is not you anymore. You're going to play those programs that you haven't played in your relationship during the honeymoon. They've been down below, not playing the program. But now that I'm thinking, boom, those programs come up. I go, are they good programs? No, they suck. I go, so why is it relevant? The honeymoon disappears. Now you have life. I go, well, what was the honeymoon? Life without program. So
life without program. I like that.
And Margaret and I had this wonderful opportunity as a relationship to understand the mechanism and programming and all that, that if I came up with a crap behavior like my dad, which I copied and then played, she could bring it to my attention. This happens in relationships, but when people bring it to their attention, it's not usually a happy thing. It's like, what kind of behavior is that? Where did you come from? Because like when this behavior shows up, it's so out of what the honeymoon was all about. But the partner that hears that, remember, Bill does not see the behavior. Bruce did not see he was playing his dad's behavior. Margaret saw it.
Yeah.
Now, in many relationships with people that don't know the relationship of programming and consciousness, they see that bad behavior show up, and now it's an argument. And then it's really hard because the guy who just had the bad behavior, like me in this case, didn't even see it. I was Bill. I just played the program. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I didn't see it. But now you're telling me I was evil. So what was the point? And the point is, if people getting in a relationship understood that there's two parts, there's the conscious person, that's the wishes and desires honeymoon creator, is separate from the program, which is a representation of their development. And I go, if people understood this and a bad behavior showed up after that honeymoon was going, then it wouldn't turn into an argument. It would say, hey, let's change that. And I go, why? Because if we take that bad behavior, rewrite it, and make a good program, then that behavior will never show up again. And the same stimulus that caused it to show up, well, now same stimulus will cause something good to happen. So I went from totally dysfunctional relationship to being with Margaret, rewriting. And Margaret and I have been living on a honeymoon for 22 years. Why? Because if it's not working right, we understand. There's no argument. It's not necessary to go there anymore. We did in the beginning, like most people, but we figured it out. And so I wrote a book called The Honeymoon Effect, which is what? How we created heaven on earth and why it doesn't have to be a short period at all. It could be for the rest of your entire life. Every day you wake up and you're still in a honeymoon. And that's the destination. And the world is collapsing because the belief programs we have been programmed with as a civilization are not just self-destructive, but they're destructive of the world around us. And human behavior has precipitated what is called the sixth mass extinction of life. 5 times in the history of planet life was thriving, and some event cataclysmic wiped out up to 90%. 66 million years ago, the last one was when a comet hit the earth near Mexico. And that was at the time we had all the dinosaurs and lush forests and all that. The comet hit, boom, environment upside down, dinosaurs gone. The environment essentially almost wiped out, started all over again. 66 million years later, here we are. I say, and we came from this beautiful garden. And now what is it? 6 mass extinction. I go, who caused that? We caused that because we didn't have the right programs of understanding our relationship with nature. And as a result, we have raped and pillaged the planet to a point that it's falling apart. And I go, oh my God, these are scary times. But now here's the point that I need to bring out to our audience, the young people. And young people is this. We know how we did it. We know the programming that led to all this.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's an opportunity for you to take this knowledge, change those programs in yourself. Because if we as a collective population, especially the young people, start to recognize, I do not want to live in that scary world. I want to live in a world of what? Vision, creativity, harmony, love. I say, oh, those are programs. And I say, if you change your program, then you can have honeymoon. And if you have a honeymoon, that's not just for you, that's for your partner, but that's for the community around you and for nature that you live in. If you're coming from that love, that's a vibration of harmony. A garden is harmony. Disharmony is destruction. And this is what we're facing. Must we face this? The answer is no. The young people, much better opportunity for them to understand what we're talking about and take this to empower their own lives because, oh my God, now that the light has been shined on why we have a problem, it offers an opportunity to resolve that problem. And the problem was programming. And the issue is this. We have some really severely bad programs. Number one, Darwinian evolution. I go, why? Because what's the premise of Darwinian evolution? Life is a struggle to survive. And it's based on competition for fitness. I go, oh, then the principle that we are espousing here in this world is, hey, it's dog eat dog, man. It's competition. I got to be your ass or you're going to be my ass. And I want to stay here and I want that, I want that Beamer. Oh, then you got to compete. And compete at the cost of others is where the problem has come in. That a garden is not Darwinian. It's not a struggle. A garden is the height of cooperation.
Yeah.
And we are the least cooperative of all organisms on planet Earth. And our power in manipulating the environment has precipitated a destruction of the environment. And I got to close with this, and here's what it is. An analogy that is so close to the truth, and it says, a caterpillar is a voracious organism. You put a caterpillar on a plant, it will eat every damn leaf off of that plant, okay? And then what does it do? Well, when it reaches a certain size, it goes into what is a cocoon. I say, what is going on there? I say, well, there's an evolution going on, a metamorphosis. I say, why? Because coming out of that cocoon is a butterfly. I go, the caterpillar, the most voracious of organisms, goes into the cocoon, metamorphosis, and comes out a butterfly, the lightest touch on the planet, hardly even lands on the planet, okay? And I go, okay, now consider this. All organisms are made out of cells. Cells are miniature people. They have the same functions we have. They need to breathe the same air. They need to have the same metabolites, the same body temperature. So cells and people are similar. Okay, so here's a caterpillar. Let's say there's 1 billion cells in that caterpillar. And when a caterpillar is growing, the economy is moving, man. We're growing every day. We're taking that food in. We're moving around. We're eating. We're growing. Great. Look at the statistics. We're succeeding.
The market trends.
At the expense, of course, of eating all the plants. But then I say, then what happens? It reaches a finite size, goes into a cocoon. And then I say, what happens then? Well, the cells in that caterpillar, the digestive cells, are like, hey, there's no food coming in, so I have no work. Oh, digestive cells out of work. Muscles. Oh, we're not moving anymore. Oh, muscle cells out of work. I go, what's going on in the community in that caterpillar? And I go, the cells are falling apart. They're losing their jobs. The thing isn't working anymore. It's going to crap. It's falling apart. I said, yeah, so there's chaos. The cells are falling apart. And I say, then what? Amongst those chaotic cells, there are some special cells. I love the name. They're called imaginal cells.
Imaginal cells.
And they have a vision of a different future. And so in the midst of all this chaos going on, the imaginal cells are saying, look, come this way. We can make a new plan. We can create a butterfly. And so the cells leave the chaos and then move into creating the butterfly. Like, so why is it relevant? Because human civilization has been a caterpillar, has destroyed the environment. It's now falling apart. The jobs are getting lost. People aren't doing this anymore. It's all changing. How am I going to move into this other world and all that? And now you have two choices in that cocoon. One, you could hold on and go, oh, this isn't falling apart. I'm going to die. Or you could say, there's something new we're building. And this new one is so much better than the other one. So I say, look at the world around you. You have part of the population bemoaning the fact that thing is falling down because they're living in fear. And yet there's another part of the population that says, screw the fear. Let's build a new, better civilization. And the generation X, Y, Z, the alphabet generations are the first generations that have an opportunity to say, wait, I do not want to perpetuate the problems that we have because they've been programs. I have power. I have power to change the program and create heaven on earth, not just for me, not just for my partner, but for everyone around me, including the non-living and the living environment in which we're in. Mm-hmm. I go, we move from fear to love. You stay in fear, game over. You move to love, you say, no, I'm participating in a new, I'm letting go of that one sucks. That civilization is not just killing me, kill the environment. We want to survive? It's time for us to look for the butterfly. Mm-hmm. And this is the choice of all you listeners out there. You can get caught up in the fear of this thing's not happening the way you think it was supposed to according to the program. Or you can say, I recognize that program has been self-destructive, and I can change those programs. And I can then manifest the heaven on earth version of it, which is our destination if we are to survive. And so that's why, Emilio, I'm so happy that you gave me an opportunity to speak here today, because I don't want people to get caught up in the fear. That's wasting your time. Get out of the fear and start working in the harmony of the new ones that are building the better world. That'll save your life, make you healthier and a happier individual in the process, as well as saving the planet. So for all you young people out there, Yeah, look at the fear, but don't live in that. It'll kill you. It's time for you to say, no, we need to reorganize this community. And I'm going to be supporting of a new community, which values all of us as cells. All humans are cells in the body of something evolving, the butterfly, but in this case called humanity. Humanity is a living organism where each of us is a cell in that organism. And that's the organism of health and harmony and beauty and heaven on earth. That's the one we want. So it's choice time. Stick with the old program, be aggravated, anxiety ridden, get sick from it, or let go of it. Take your power back and create the world that we can all thrive into.
Yes.
That is our destination.
Yes, you're a true legend, Bruce. Thank you so much for your wisdom. I am pumped right now. Like, that was incredible. So much inspiration in there. And really, you're such a leader in this space, and you're bringing.
Well, I am the first, student in this case, because I saw this 50 years ago. If I just put it in my conscious mind like I started, nothing would have changed in my life. I had to be the student and say, wait, I had to take this program in my conscious and now manifest that into my subconscious, so we both, conscious and subconscious, have the same destination. So I'm a student just like everybody else, and I can do it. Everybody can do it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your curiosity, your love of learning. Where can people find you before we leave off?
The most wonderful thing is my website, brucelipton.com. And I really want people, if they get a chance, to look at it, because we got a new website in. Yeah. And the most important additive to this website is the community page. And the significance of that is people can talk to each other about their own, how they changed their life from this to that, how they eliminated a disease by consciously doing this or that, self-help to heal each other. So that's the conversation that we need to raise up. So I'm really excited by the fact that this new website incorporates that opportunity for a community to extend. I don't have to be there. You guys are already understanding. You guys work it out.
It's the imaginal cells talking to each other.
That's what it's about.
Amazing. Brother, all the love. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom. And I look forward to hopefully doing this again.
I think we should, because, hey, every now and then a reminder doesn't hurt.
Yes. All the love, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And again, I want to thank all of our viewers out there, because each one of them is that potential imaginal cell. Because if you don't like it, then change it. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Be the change.
Yes.